Okay, welcome to the October 2nd, 2024 meeting of the Hampton Bays Alliance. I appreciate you all coming out tonight. I'm John Leonard, I'm the president of the Alliance. With me are our founding members, Helen Burgess, Maria Holtz, and Christine Taylor right over there. And we also have board member Stephanie Jocelyn up at front with us. I'd like to thank our attendees for coming. We have Cyndi McNAMARA and Michael Iasilli, members of our town council. So tonight's going to be a little bit of a different kind of meeting, but we always start out with a recitation of our mission, because I think our mission is important and also our founding principles. The Hampton Bays Alliance is a nonprofit civic organization founded to provide a civil and respectful space for members of the Hampton Bays community to learn about the various public and private community development projects affecting our hamlet, to exchange and develop ideas regarding the revitalization and conservation of Hampton Bays, and to promote policies and improvements that will benefit members of our hamlet's residential and business communities for generations to come. Our founding principles are inclusivity, civility, and progress. There's no bad ideas in this room. There's no bad opinions in this room. If you are against progress altogether, this is not the meeting for you. There's another meeting. You can go to that one. This meeting is forward-looking, not backward-looking. This organization is interested in reasonable, respectful progress in our hamlet, because we really have to think about what are we leaving for future generations? What are we leaving for our children and our grandchildren? And is what we see right now the sum total of what we want to leave once we all go? Tonight, like I said, tonight's meeting is going to be a little bit different because really we wanted everybody in the room to talk. We've held quite a few educational meetings. We've had meetings about where we are in redevelopment and revitalization plans, where we are with installing a sewer system. We had a meeting called What Will It Cost?, where we talked about many issues that people have raised about, will it raise your taxes? What will affordable housing do for us? Will it increase the population of the schools? Will our taxes go up because of that? So we addressed those issues there. We recently had a meeting about affordable housing. All of our meetings are on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. Look for Hampton Bays Alliance and you'll find all of them. This one is also being recorded and you'll find that on the YouTube channel as well. Our website is hamptonbaysalliance.com, where you can find more information about us. So what we really would like to do is to start out with speaking to you guys. We have captive audience here. We got 2 council members here. So I'd like for the community, for our group, to talk about what it is they want, what it is you want to see, and ask any questions. Let's start mulling over all the things we've started to learn about revitalization and redevelopment so that we can understand what we're doing and how we want to move forward. So I have a couple of questions that were already handed to me. I mean, people were at the ready. Parking is bad. Before you work on revitalization, can you do anything to improve parking in Hampton Bays in general? That is Dolores Riley. Where are you, Dolores? Okay. So, parking's bad. What does that mean?
As bad as?
What does it mean to you?
What it means to me is that when I go to the senior center, when I go to King Cullen, when I go to Rite Aid, such as it is, Metro, it's hard to park. And I know that someone came in the other day and they said something about, from now on, we're gonna have a 4-hour limit on parking in that area. But aside from that, it just seems like wherever you wanna go, there's not enough parking. That's all. And I guess I don't understand if the road that goes in near, not too far from Squiretown Road, the road that goes in to the new area, and it turns around and takes over the circle that's inside the park, then
Right.
it goes out to Sunrise Highway, not Sunrise Highway, to 24.
No, it's would be nowhere near 24, because 24 is where the diner is. So, you know, so if you look at the rendering, okay. So let's explain. And understand, everyone, I have the renderings because I was using them for San Gennaro. The Hampton Bays Alliance does not support any particular project. There is no project right now. There's some drawings and some ideas, and all of that has to go through building department, planning department process. We need multi-use zoning to be passed, so we have a long way to go, but at least we can start talking about what things we might want to see. So when you're looking at this, right? So you're talking about that circle, right?
Right.
So now I'm behind it. It's like a sandwich board. Okay, so that circle is the turnaround at the park, right? So Squiretown Road is going to be over here somewhere. Yeah, stick it right there. Ah, there we go. So Squiretown Road is going to be over here somewhere, right?
Or no, over.
Yeah, this Squiretown Road is where you enter the park. This is Montauk Highway.
Okay.
So what you'll see,
Stop for a second.
Sure.
When I go, I'm on Montauk Highway, I go down Squiretown Road, and I turn into the park. Are you saying, is that,
It's over. It's like
here?
here.
Okay, I can
It's
never
all the way over here.
understand
We're looking north
Okay.
to south
this. Okay.
in this rendering. That's the movie theater. That's the water tower.
Oh, that's perfect. Okay.
And these roads would be new. So has everyone seen where where it was cleared off of Montauk Highway and there's all the wood chips?
Yeah.
That's this. And they cleared this little area over here. Okay, so these roads would come in and create this new development. And there's an idea to connect those roads to the park, which has gotten a lot of flack. We have to decide as a community if that's something that we want. What do you think about that?
I'm still confused. Okay, so if we go back to the rendering, right? Okay, so I'm coming in from Squire Road here. Okay, and then there's a new road over here. Maybe you can access the park or whatever.
Right.
But when I come in down here, right now, I just go around the loop because I'm looking for a parking spot. I don't find one. I say, I'm just gonna go home. And I go back that way.
Right.
These people, houses, whatever they are, they have access to the park. They can walk in, but not drive in.
Well, that's the thing. So some people don't want to see any vehicular access to the park. Others want to see parking to be put there so that these buildings would be retail on the bottom and residential at the top. And then you would have parking in front to access it. What do you think of that?
What do I think of that? I don't know. I just heard it.
Okay. Is it something that would bother you? Like off the cuff? Are you like, oh my God, it enrages me?
I'm not really a fan of Good Ground Park. I think it's great for music. But aside from that, I have people come and visit me, and what they said was, it's sort of like a glorified parking lot. You know, it'd be nice if there was a swimming pool or a reason to go to the park. So, I don't know.
So do you think opening up the park to Montauk Highway with a development of shops and walkable downtown, do you think that would make Good Ground Park better?
It doesn't bother me. I like the idea of the street. It's just that I keep thinking of all the traffic, the lack of parking, and what if this really, really takes off and there's cars everywhere, and then there's even more cars out on Montauk Highway? That would be my concern.
Okay, so you would want to see some traffic controls and you'd want to see some real traffic planning, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And the road that you're putting in that would run,
I'm not putting anything in. I don't have that kind of money. I wish I did.
okay, this road over here, this would be a new road onto Montauk Highway.
This would. And
Right.
this would.
Right, onto Montauk, this
Yeah.
is Montauk
Montauk Highway's
It's over
here.
there. Okay, so this would be the new road.
You must be great on a road trip.
No, I'm the worst in the world. So you're coming on Montauk Highway, right?
Yeah.
And these are the new shops, the new whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then if you keep going, you're in the parking lot of the park.
Yeah.
Or you go this way and you go out on some new road that you're gonna build. That
Right.
lets you
And
go
all
to
along
Montauk
here
Highway.
would be all new parking.
Okay, and this is a traffic light that you can make on Montauk Highway. You can go in left, you can go in right.
Yeah.
Okay, and this out here, traffic light, and you can
Well,
go
that's
right.
something we need to discuss as a community. Do we, I mean, first of all, you have to remember Montauk Highway is owned by the county, correct? And the county is the one that determines what you put there. My understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong, county does not love traffic circles. That's what I've heard.
Hello. Okay, great. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. Michael Iasilli. Nice to see you all. I don't think that the county does not like it. That's not true. I don't think that's a fair statement that they don't like traffic circles. Specifically, with respect to County Road 39, they may not be necessarily intrigued because of the study that's ongoing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you get us a traffic circle by the diner?
We're so actually.
Who would like a traffic circle at the diner? Come on, raise your hands. Okay.
So actually, we, myself, Supervisor Moore, and Tom Neely, one of our co-chairs with the Traffic Safety and Mitigation Task Force, we actually met with Fred Thiel about a traffic circle in that area, because in 2019, the town had actually looked at that previously and asked the state to weigh in on that matter and determine whether or not they can get DOT funds. The state weighed in and they said, we think this is a good idea and would help the traffic. We found out at that meeting that the town really did not necessarily follow up with that. So what we are going to be planning on doing is hopefully writing a resolution. We've got to obviously converse with the rest of the board, but we'd like to write a resolution mentioning that the board does support a traffic circle in that location. And we hope that we
Awesome.
can get the DOT support and funding.
Oh, Maria?
One quick question. The road that's been cleared from Montauk Highway, who cleared it and why? What's it for?
That's a really good question. You don't know the answer? No, I don't know the answer. I know it was cleared by Mr. Kiola. I believe it was. I believe it was. He cleared it and removed a lot of trash.
Building up in there. And then he also was saying about using the wood chips just so people could kind of have an idea on where he was thinking about doing that road. Because I guess there's a lot of rumors going around that it's supposed to extend down to Cemetery Road, which it isn't. You know, he was gonna make his own access into the park, you know, there. That's how I remember it.
That's how I remember it. So that's where there's an access to the park.
That's where that access will be.
So, this is Rodney Trafford, he's with our fire department.
Right?
Rodney, why don't you tell us what you think? What do you think so far when you look at this?
I like it. I mean, I think it's something that's, you know, Hampton Bays could really use, both with the affordable housing and getting some small shops and stores and stuff, you know, in here. I think we're, you know, surrounded by people that would start to, you know, support a lot of these shops. I know, you know, same thing, I hear people grumbling that, you know, all the stores are gonna remain empty. I don't see that if we get, you know, decent shops and stuff in there. I think there's enough of a population, even outside Hampton Bays, that'll, you know, come here and, you know, come here for lunch or, you know, early dinners and stuff like that and kind of support, you know, a lot of stuff, you know, there. I think it would help with the park, and people say, you know, there's not a whole bunch at the park. I think there might be more, you know, things to go on in the park, more venues to come to the park and do stuff, if they don't feel like they're just buried in the woods somewhere, and better access. I mean, I've gone to a lot of things there at the park, some of the concerts, and like I said, parking's a nightmare. You know, without having more access and more parking, and, you know, stuff like that, you know, in that area, you know, it's hard to get people to go there, because you know, like yourself said, you know, you wanna go to something at the park, if there's a concert there, but you pull in and you can't find a place to park, you're just gonna leave. So we're doing these with that additional parking that they're gonna be adding in there. That's, you know, is gonna certainly help things going on at the park.
Thank you. Okay, I'm just gonna scooch through here. Oh, can I? Okay.
Hello, my name is April. I've been living in Hampton Bays for 20 years or so. I have 3 children. And the beautiful thing about this park, the Good Ground Park, because I have those 3 kids, is they bike ride there all of the time. We've recently heard, my son tells me that there's going to be a sidewalk that you guys can walk to, so we're very close to the park. My kids go there all the time. I took them there all the time when they were little. They meet up with their friends there all the time. They walk in town all the time. They use that little trail that you can go to get to the park. So I know my children are for the project, but also there's so much to do at that park. You can go hiking. You can walk through the woods. There's a whole bunch of trails. So it's not just the concerts. There's just so much that you can really do. People go there to walk their dogs. And I know we talk about parking a lot, but I have never fought to find parking. I mean, I do like to walk, but if you King Cullen has parking, not so much in the summer, but that's anywhere in the Hamptons. And I just never I've always found parking in Hampton Bays. I've never not.
So with that in mind, so since your family uses the park so much, how would you feel about a redevelopment project like that?
Well, I love trees, so I'm happy that the Good Ground Park came because it was just going to be a residential lot. So I'm grateful for that, and I think the whole plan always from the town was that this was going to happen, and that the community just wasn't aware of it as much if you didn't keep up with it. So I know my children would love that to, have something else to do, and so they're for it. So.
Okay, so now I'm going to move to, give me 1 second. So yes, you're absolutely right. I've seen many communications from around 2016, just before Good Ground Park was built, and the plan was always to open it up to Montauk Highway. You, young man, what is your name?
Nico Crow.
Okay, and so tell me, what would you feel about a revitalization project like that?
I would love something like that to happen because a lot of me and my friends walk to town a lot, and a lot of the time we always say that there's not much to do, and we always, like, a lot of my friends will go to Southampton or Sag Harbor just to go to the town there and look through the windows and stuff like that and eat at restaurants and whatever, and we don't have that in our downtown area.
Excuse me?
I understand what he's saying, there's more to look at there, but when you say there's nothing to do here.
Okay, hold on, I'll come back to you. Okay, let's ask. Hold on, what do you do in Sag Harbor?
So I'll say this, like going to West Hampton.
Give us a second, you have to, wait.
So going to West Hampton, going to Sag Harbor, even if it's expensive there, right? But even just going there is an experience. It's nice to walk to. There's big sidewalks. It's fun to go with your friends, even just to look through different stores and stuff. People watch, yeah.
You go to Budaberry. You don't like Budaberry? Well, oh my God. So where do you go?
In Sag Harbor,
What do you eat? You have to eat something. Come on.
Big Olaf ice cream in Sag Harbor. I don't like Budaberry.
On the pier. On the wharf. Excuse me, I said pier. That was so LA of me. Okay. Anything else? Anything else you'd like to say?
No.
Because it's really refreshing to have a young perspective about this. Oh, okay. What kind of things would you like to see in town?
Definitely restaurants, like just looking out onto the park or the street or whatever. Different stores, like stuff where people like me, my age, can buy clothes, shoes, stuff like that. Just like things, so we don't have to go all the way to Riverhead, Tanger outlets. It would be nice to have like some kind of store that sells like Nike shoes or something like that.
Nice.
John,
Okay.
can I jump in?
Yeah, jump in.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Joslin. So, growing up in Hampton Bays, I loved it. Born here, been here, not gonna leave here. I love this town. My dad loves this town. And while there wasn't, a crazy amount to do. My friends and I were never bored. We always went to town, there was always something. We had Pancake Cottage, we had Michelangelo's, we had Friendlies, we had Noel's. Does anyone remember Noel's? Best little gifts ever. And now there's nothing. And I kind of want to know what happened. What made these little stores disappear and end up with 17 barbershops, I think 20 nail salons I counted. And, you know, Petco's great, but Pancake Cottage was better. There's nowhere to get breakfast here. There's Hampton Made, but that's out of my tax bracket. There's nowhere to get lunch. There's nowhere to just have kids hang out. You know, my parents would drop me off at Friendly's and they knew, okay, she's good for the day. She can walk to town, she can walk home, she's fine. There's nowhere for kids to like eat lunch and get together. So I kind of want to know from your perspective, what happened to this town?
If you know.
So, I mean, I think part of the issue is that there is an economic need. There's a lack of economic sustainability. You know, this whole region is experiencing an exodus of people who can't afford to live here. And the real estate market is out of control. And so you have a lot of people leaving, a lot of people unable to stay, and that's affecting businesses. There's a economic domino effect that's occurring. And I would say that April's son, his comments, I've heard actually. When I was with the chamber a couple of weeks ago for the ribbon cutting of Tropical Smoothie, I met a gentleman there, a young gentleman, who actually, we were talking a little bit about this, you know, pattern book, and he actually knew about it. And I'm like, that's interesting. And he said he'd like to see it primarily, the reason that you mentioned, his friends go to Sag Harbor Village, they do go to Budaberry, they go to Southampton Village, they hang out at Public House where they can get a nice burger and chicken fingers and hang out and listen to music. He said to me that there's nothing really to do. But I think a lot of that comes from the economic gaps that have occurred throughout the years. And, you know, I want to also mention one thing. I think there's a segment of this community, and some of you are here, some of you aren't, but there's a segment of this community that feels that Hampton Bays has sort of been neglected or left out of the conversation. And I want you to know that I sympathize with that. I think that Hampton Bays has largely, throughout the past, been left out of the conversation. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's a predominantly working class community, where a lot of our other hamlets, you understand what the demographics are, the economic demographics. But I can tell you that there is a commitment on this board to recognize where we need to actually focus our attention. And I give you a lot of respect, John, and the folks here today joining in this, I think, wonderful dialogue and communication, that there is a path forward. And I think we all need to recognize that we have to work collaboratively, because the community is the best partner for government, because you help inform us on the steps that we need to take. So that's just my perspective.
So is there anything you think we can do about these 17 barbershops and multiple nail salons?
So do you want me to tell you what I think happened to Hampton Bays?
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
Having grown up here, like it or not, Hampton Bays had Neptunes, Summers, Foggy Goggle, Bordy Barn, share houses, and the community decided they didn't want any of that anymore, and the town got rid of it all. And the town got rid of all of that summer influx of young people coming and walking downtown and going to the Pancake Cottage and the diner, and like it or not, that crew kept the diner in business because they were the ones there weekend after weekend till 4 o'clock in the morning. Yes, there was problems, but they were the ones, you know, and I mean, and it wasn't liked, and the town decided, Hampton Bays decided, we don't want that in our community anymore, and the town cleaned it up. And you lost a big population and a big lot of money that used to come into this community every summer, and it would sustain it so that when they left in the summer, because those kids all left those share houses on Labor Day, and we got our town back. And that doesn't happen anymore because we still have a ton of rentals in Hampton Bays, but they're not summer rentals anymore. They're year-round working people rentals year-round, and they don't go anywhere. And a lot of those people are struggling to make ends meet. They're not going out to eat. They're not going window shopping downtown. They're going home and they're going to work and back and forth day in and day out. So I think we lost, Hampton Bays, in my opinion, was a big college town. It was a party town. It was where everybody wanted to be in the summer, because we didn't have money to go to M80s and the clubs out in Southampton, so it was Neptunes and summers, so it's almost a case of be careful what you wish for, right? Because you almost see it changing again. So now we're saying, okay, how do we bring some of that back? We don't want it to the extreme it was. We don't want the share houses and the parties. But we want more of a seasonal community. We want people to come and spend money and time downtown, because in turn, hopefully those people go away and we get it for the, remainder of the year. So I think something like this, I know that the specifics of everything, and people are like, well, I want a brewery. And I think we should have a daycare center so the parents come to pick up their kids and go to the shops. And they're all great ideas, but it's kind of like if you build it, they will come scenario, I hope. And where we're at right now is Hampton Bays has become a working class drive-through downtown. You go downtown to get your hair cut or get your nails done or pick up a pizza, but you're not hanging out there. You're going to the park for a concert.
Talk about, we discussed how it's destination places. Talk about that, because that really resonated with me. That what you're going to the hair salon just to go to the hair salon and to leave.
If you go through Hampton Bays, everyone has their hair place or their nail place, and that's where you go.
Fandango is it.
It is.
One clothing store, Fandango is it, says the woman in yellow.
Yeah, and I'm guilty because you know what? I went to Carl & Jack's probably once a year for Carhartt pants for my husband. That was the only time I went to Carl & Jack's. So was it any, big surprise that they went out of business? And that's what we saw in a lot of Pancake Cottage. Amazingly, the waitress from the Pancake Cottage came in and interviewed for a job last year or the year before. And she walked in, and it's been 15 years since the Pancake Cottage closed? I immediately knew who she was. And I was like, oh my God, can you bring the Pancake Cottage back? And she goes, no, it just wasn't feasibly economically. She goes, breakfast, and you could go there, and you remember, you could get that big countryman's breakfast for $10, and it was 6 eggs and all the meat you could eat stuffed inside. But like she said, nobody came for lunch, we couldn't stay open for dinner, and you can't make a living on breakfast. So, it sucks, because I used to love, we used to take our kids there all the time, Silver Dollar pancakes, and we get the omelets, but it's definitely changed, and it's become more like, you're saying Petco's there now. Well, it's someplace you go, you pick up and you leave, and it's, the bank, from what I understand and what I've been told, I don't know if this is true, I shouldn't be spreading rumors, but that bank, I asked somebody why it's been vacant for so long, why hasn't another store come in there? And apparently they signed a lease, and a guaranteed lease, that they would make their lease payments for X amount of years. So it doesn't pay for the developer in that shopping center to put a new tenant in, because he's getting paid with an empty building.
Which bank?
The Citibank.
So,
Yeah, what used to be the Citibank next to Petco and Panera.
and I don't blame these developers for having those kinds of setups, because it's hard to keep tenants.
Oh, and if it's economically positive for them. Sarah Dowd.
So I love so much of what you're saying, and agree with so much of it, and then I just hear points of saying the economic gaps and everyone left, and you can't make money on breakfast, but I think other towns are, Sag Harbor's making money on pizza, Francesca can just make money on pizza, there are ways, and there are young entrepreneurs and people with great ideas, and to this point, if we have an attractive place that they will come and the crowds will follow, then maybe we can, you know, get rich on breakfast. And have a thriving downtown little, you know, space. So I like a lot of that, and I just don't think we should give up and be like, nah, you can't do it, you know?
No, not at all.
And then to the other point about someone had asked, like, how hard is it? These places will be empty downstairs. So I'm in real estate, and we're in the Chamber of Commerce, and Christine has been looking for a while to have an adorable, cute place in town so that we can kind of have boots on the grounds and this, you know, walk in and just more of what the other towns have. And she's been looking for a while, and she finally secured a spot, but it was hard. So there's just not available cute spots for people who have great ideas to come into Hampton Bays, you know, and hit the ground running. But if we do have opportunities, I think you'll see more of it.
So it's funny that you say that, because I finally met with Alfred Kiola about this whole downtown thing. And something that I said to him was, if you go into Riverhead across from the new town hall, if you will, the glass building, there's the old post office. And that old post office, if you've been inside, and I go to the girl that does my hair is in there, and what they did was they made that old post office into these little, like, hair and nail shops and an esthetician, and you know, so you can go there, and it's kind of like you can go to this guy who specializes in nails, and this one that does hair, and it's great. So what I said to Mr. Kiola was, there's so many of these small businesses, right, that you want to have a bead shop. It's not economically feasible to rent out a downtown space for a bead shop. But wouldn't it be cool if you had like one of these big stores broken into little spaces for little, you know, small business owners to start and get their foot in the door and hopefully expand from there?
Oh, yeah, like you see in the in the diamond district with people with stalls.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and to tag on to what Sarah was saying, I've talked about it a lot in many different places. I think this thing is just freaking me out. I'm gonna fix it in a second. I'll get you. I'm a lawyer, and I have a law office, and I had my law office in the Hampton Town Center above the Verizon store. I was renting out a couple of rooms from another law firm, and in 2019 I had to leave because the sublet was over, and it was impossible to find any place to open a law office here in Hampton Bays. And I was set on Hampton Bays because, first of all, I love it. Second of all, it's close for me to Riverhead to the courts, to Central Islip to the courts, and it's also a really central location for people to actually come. I had an office in Sag Harbor. No one ever wanted to visit me, so because it's so far out. And I was committed to Hampton Bays, but there was no inventory. And I hear people say a lot, oh, there's all these empty stores all over Montauk Highway. And I'm like, I would love to know where they are, because they're not, I don't see them unless, you know, they've gone into the mists. But it was very difficult. There's no inventory.
You hold that. I'm going to lower this.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Cyndi, you described my 20, like exactly the whole reason I bought my house here in my 30s, because that's my entire 20s. My understanding and my question is that, what are the taxes here? Because my understanding with the diner was that the taxes were so high, the guy couldn't afford it, and whatever the story might be. Are our taxes different than Sag Harbor, Southampton, West Hampton? Is that the reason commercial is not sustainable here?
Commercial taxes are figured separately than residential taxes. I believe there's a whole formula that you need a college degree on taxes to figure it out. But it's different, and it's not, I don't believe that the taxes are what killed the diner. There was issues there, I mean, more than taxes. And I've heard this thing like nobody will buy the diner because there's all this back taxes on it and they have to clear that and pay it. And if there was back taxes on it to that extent, it would have been foreclosed on by the county. I mean, it wouldn't have been sold to a private person. But that diner, it's just a sad, you know, thing that it's a diner. And somebody said to me, we need a good diner. We need a good diner. I'd love to just go sit in the diner and have a coffee and some toast. And I go, that's why the diner's gone. because of all the people that want to go there and have a coffee and a piece of toast. It's just, these things have to be sustained, and you have to have the population that sustains them.
Right.
So let's face it, when you go on to the, as to Michael said, the economic difference is, how many of you have time to go sit at the diner? Like, I don't have time, I'm doing 6 different things. And I think that's where we're kind of getting, where everybody has just gotten so busy with their lives, kids and work, and it's just like this repeat cycle that we're our own worst nightmare, because now we're all working class in Hampton Bays, and we don't have that influx of people with the disposable income, for lack of a better term.
And just one more note on the taxes. We did find out a couple of months ago too that we are underassessed, and that underassessment has led to an inequity in how taxes are assessed, hamlet by hamlet. And so if you are somebody who is more working class, you may be paying more than somebody who may have a more moderate or higher income. So there are some inequities we have to look at as a town.
Yeah, and another thing, we in our session called "What Will It Cost?" we had Lisa Gorey here, who's our tax assessor, and we had her discussing the very common idea that somehow a development like this is going to raise your taxes. It won't. Basically, undeveloped land is taxed at a lower rate than if it was developed.
I'm not worried about my taxes. I'm saying for a commercial property to come in. So why would a commercial business come? If we're so expensive, just go to Southampton or go to Sag Harbor or go to West End. That's
They'll just be renting.
Well, most of the
Right.
people don't own the business.
Oh, the developer would own. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, the developer, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I got it.
Would own, and it would be taxed. And the thing about taxes that would be good is you would be increasing the tax base. You would, bring more money into the town in order to do things like, I keep saying, what I'd love to see is more code enforcement. That would be great. Who would love that? Anyone? Yeah. In this room, yeah. Things of that nature. Another issue that's kind of tied to the taxes is the creation of roads. People say, oh, well, the town is going to have to build the roads, and that's going to cost us how much money? Well, the fact of the matter is, no, the town doesn't build the roads. The developer builds the road, and then eventually what they do is hand the road off to the town, and then the town has to pay for the maintenance. So cleaning, clearing, snow clearing, those kinds of things. I'm going to run over here to Benny. He has been waiting. Go ahead, Mr. Torres.
How you doing? I was just wondering, we were talking about the diner. Is that owned by the town, or that's still an individual?
No, it's right for the planning board. They're putting medical buildings in there.
Zweninger Passeri.
Oh, okay. So that's. Oh, I thought it was that the town purchased it, so they did. All right. So basically, what I'm looking at that plan there. I mean, that Kyola is doing. I definitely think that's something that we really need, but. There definitely has to be an emphasis on getting more parking, because in order to bring in the influx of new people, we have to add additional parking. So,
How would you feel about parking in the park?
well, if it's closer to that whole area,
Do you have a problem with vehicular access into the park if there are proper traffic controls?
No, not at all. I think there's an issue with how lonely the park is, and if you go in there, I think it's kind of, I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of creepy when you're going in there. And I think for a woman who goes there by herself or with her kid, I don't know.
Yeah, Christine Taylor with the Chamber of Commerce has talked about that extensively. I'm going to sit over here. You have something to say?
Yes. Hi, my name is Mairead. I grew up in Hampton Bays. I'm the same age as Stephanie. So I moved back to Hampton Bays a year ago. I lived in the city for a couple years. But something I think, when people were talking about this, I thought it was just another rumor, the diner was all this money on all these taxes. I didn't actually think it was something people were talking about. And it kind of gave me a lot of hope. I want to go back to what the kid over there was saying. I remember growing up, same thing. Your parents drop you off at Friendly's, you walk to the movies, you kind of just hang around. Kids probably aren't gonna spend that much money at shops, but it's having an area like that where people can walk around, like kids just hang out with each other. They'll go on those skateboards, they'll eat a slice of pizza. It's more knowing like, okay, I don't have kids, but it's like knowing your kid's there. They're not, they're in that area. They're not going to be crossing the street over to the other side of town because everything that they're going to be going to is kind of central. The park, cute little shops. Like I remember when the King Cullen Shopping Center was first built, me and my friends we'd go to Noel's, and then we'd go to Uncle Joe's, and then we'd go get our nails done. And it's like, my parents didn't have to stress about us walking to the other side of town. And I think we always say, like Hampton Bays is kind of a weird town in the sense there's a lot of really great spots, but they're so all over the place. And that's okay. Like Petco, nobody wants to walk from their house to Petco. Like it's fine to drive in there. But one thing, we keep mentioning parking. I would love to see more people in Hampton Bays walking places. Like when I lived in the city, obviously didn't own a car. That's something I miss so much, is being able to walk places. My sister, she lives on Maryland, like she walks into town. And to be honest, I think the last time we walked in town, I was like, this is crazy. I've lived in this town for almost 30 years. I can count the number of times I've walked through the town on one hand. Because it's not, people kind of, if I walk places, people will pull over, people I know, and are like, oh, do you need a ride? I'm like, no, I'm just walking. But so you have the central downtown, parents can drop their kids off. Or if you are lucky enough to live close enough to town, you walk to that spot. Or if there's bars in town, people are drinking, guess what? They don't have to worry about getting from this bar to that bar or wherever. And I think that was a big problem. My parents did summer houses out here, and they'd say there was no such thing as drunk driving. People would drive home from the Bordy Barn, like, you know what I mean? There was no tickets or policing for that. And maybe that was a problem, why people were concerned. I don't know if it was, the amount of alcohol consumption or the way people were acting and whatever, but I think people in my generation are relatively smart about drunk driving. We have Ubers and stuff, but at least minimizing that temptation for people to get behind a wheel. You have this one area, you can get dinner and then walk to the bar you're gonna go out to the next night. It would just be really nice to see that. And I know my parents, if they didn't do summer houses out here, and if they didn't have what they had, Ed's Bay Pub and all those spots they talk about, they never would have thought to buy a house out here when we were younger and we lived in Queens. So again, it would be nice to have, we need some encouragement. Like it would be nice to see, it would even be nice to see more people my age in this room right now, speaking about this. But they can't afford to live here. So yeah, this is an exciting opportunity, and I don't really have anything else to say. Okay.
Like I'll just say, everyone says, we don't want to be Patchogue, and when people say we don't want to be Patchogue, I'm saying people don't want the giant apartment buildings that Patchogue has. But to say you don't want Patchogue, like I was there last weekend with friends. We went and had dinner, and then we went and saw a band, and that band was horrible, so we walked down the street and found another band. So it's like, I think that's what people really want to do. I mean, if you're telling people from East Quogue and Hampton Bays are going to Patchogue on a Saturday night to listen to music and get dinner, because you can go there and you can do more than one thing. You're not just driving to a restaurant and driving home, or driving to a music venue and driving home. It's walk up and down Main Street in Patchogue, and it's like, it's night and day. I mean, I remember what Patchogue used to be not a good place to go. I mean, I remember going there with my grandmother to get, outfits for church, but that was about it at Sweezy's. And so now it's so vibrant, and there's so many places to eat, and because it now draws people to Patchogue, because they know they can go there, they can park, they can go see a band if the band isn't good, they can go see another band, they can have dinner. They can go to a bar after dinner for drinks. I mean, it's just it's a place you want to go, and you want to walk around, and you're with people that are out to have a good time. And I think that's kind of what we're missing in all of Southampton, not just Hampton Bays.
Absolutely. So in that scenario, what about the traffic? What do you see as the traffic issues for Patchogue? How would that relate to us?
Yeah, there's parking behind all the shops, and there's some free parking, and then there's metered parking. But we've driven around looking for parking spots in Patchogue, but you always find a spot and you walk. And it's not a big thing to walk from the parking, because there's things to look at and people to interact with. And
so you think that the addition of parking will alleviate the traffic, the additional traffic from this development?
But in addition to enhancing walkability, as you
Right.
mentioned. I think, and that mirrors April's son's comment, by the way, why it's attractive to go to Sag Harbor. Even West Hampton Beach Village just recently, made modifications to their sidewalks with bump outs so that people feel safer going down, walking there and going out to eat there. So I think there's something that is demonstrably attractive, Patchogue is a great example, that can be reflected without, of course, the towering.
Well, I also think that adding people's concerns about the residential above these retail establishments, what we have to remember is that when you have residential, first of all, you're providing patronage to all of those stores and retail establishments and restaurants. So the whole idea of, we build it, somebody moves in there and then they go bankrupt, you're kind of like building in an audience for them. And also you're encouraging people to walk across this Montauk Highway, go to King Cullen and pick up your groceries, go to the dry cleaners. Okay, Geraldine.
Good evening. I have to stand up for this. I've been sitting all day. I missed the very, very beginning of the meeting, so I don't know if there was a major announcement made. No? Okay. As you know, I've been involved in, I think, 4 different, the CAC, the Civic, anything I could get involved in. And I wound up, every time I saw something happening in Hampton Bays, I would go down the planning board list of what they were going to discuss that particular week. And then I would really look into every single thing. And I have at least 4 things I could say right now, but because we're talking about downtown, everybody that is interested in the upgrading or the improvement or just the changing of downtown has been listening to meetings and gone to the planning book, the pattern book meetings and so on. This is over 5 years already, and we're still talking about it. And everybody is getting more and more ideas on what we should have, what we could have, how much better things could be, and kids definitely need things to do. We'd all love to be walking around and parking your car and just having a nice evening. And it doesn't really happen, and I think the reason that it doesn't happen, one thing was saying how the town board kind of abandoned Hampton Bays because there were so many negative issues that were directing everything at the town board, kind of propagates the entire issue getting dragged out. But one man had a vision, and he stepped in and bought all of this land, spent millions of dollars in downtown Hampton Bays, because he had a vision of how things could be improved, how they could make life better for people. And of course he would make money on the apartments and things that he sold. So Mr. Caiola went and did all of this. And it's been years since he bought this property. Nothing has happened. We have drawings, we have plans, we have meetings discussing what could be if it ever got done. And we just come back to the same thing, that there'll always be people who don't want to see it, other people who think, wow, this would be great. I would love to rent a little office in there for my company so I wouldn't have to work in my living room. So the thing is, and it's true, there aren't really small places for rent here that you can have your business. So what I think is that unless we have the sewage treatment system done and running, nothing can be built. And I think that's a big part of what's holding up him and any of the businesses on Main Street that would like to have any kind of expansion. They can't either because there's no sewage system. And we've known about having no sewage system since the beginning of time. So I know it's going to be at the dump now, because I had a discussion with Mr. Schneiderman 3 years ago. And he said, it'll never be there. Well, now I hear that's where it's going to be. So if we could get 3 crews hired to put that system in like supercharged time, maybe it wouldn't take 3 to 5 more years to get anything built here, because there will not be any way to connect to a sewer system if there isn't one. So that, I think, is the key to getting all of this improvement. And so far as parking goes, the largest piece of property that could be parked on is held by the fire district, as everyone has noticed, on the south side. And the piece that they bought a few years ago, they just stripped all the trees out of and are leveling it. And there's some big houses in there that are probably rented out. And what are they doing with that? But can the town board speak with them and say we need to have a municipal parking lot if we're ever to put businesses that people can walk to and shop in? They need a place to park. Would they be able to get a municipal park on part of that property instead of just carnivals? So there's so many different issues that we have to work on, but I think the biggest roadblock in downtown is the fact that the man that owns most of the property, who wants to put all the money in to make it happen, doesn't have a sewer system.
Let me ask you something. Yeah, no, I understand. Okay, so sewer system going in at the transfer station. They're working on it.
Right.
There's another piece of property to be purchased,
Yes.
and am I correct? And we're securing the monies for it.
3 years.
Okay, so in order for this to ever be come to fruition, this revitalization plan, no, we need multi-use zoning, and it needs to go through the planning process. That could take, how many years could that take? Ms. McNAMARA and Mr. Iasilli.
I could not be on the town board anymore making that decision.
Right, but how would you feel about them going ahead at the same track? Moving along with the sewer system and at the same time approving a plan? Would that make sense?
That would require zoning changes for him to do certain things, to build certain things. But the next thing you hear is that, to me, if you have the sewage treatment plant at the dump, you have to speak with the county, who would never say no to sewage, and run the line straight down 24, have it make a sharp turn on Montauk Highway, and link up all those businesses with it right in front. There's no going through anybody's private property, no paying right-of-ways through someone's private property to put a sewage line. You just run it down 24 and along Montauk Highway and hook everybody up.
Okay. Would you be in favor of multi-use zoning to allow a revitalization project like this? Yes or no?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. So, Rich.
Okay, my name is Rich. I've lived here 72 years. I've seen Hampton Bays grow from a tiny, tiny little hamlet. And one of the things I see with the development is if you put a light on Montauk Highway, you're going to squeeze the light in between there and Ponquag. If you put a light on the end of the park on Squiretown, you're going to squeeze the light between there and Montauk Highway. My concern is the trade parade in the morning might use this as a shortcut, or it's just going to back up traffic more and more between the lights. And that'll be very, very cumbersome to anybody who lives in there trying to get in and out and have access to Montauk Highway.
Are you talking about them potentially coming from the west, going through the park and out onto Squiretown?
If they decide to do that.
So one of the things that we had discussed were bollards that could be raised to be shut down during that time. That you couldn't exit the park. You would have to go. It basically wouldn't be worth your time because you would have to go back out to Montauk Highway. So basically, the way it was explained to me, and I don't even know, this is you know, I'm giving you a scenario that nobody has approved and isn't set in stone. But the scenario would be if there were shops on the lower level of all of these stores, and there was, say, a deli in there, you could come off of Montauk Highway, you could park, go to the deli, and then go back out to Montauk Highway, but you couldn't go out to Squiretown Road.
I know, when you come out to Montauk Highway, if you're making a left or a right, traffic will be backed up, probably further than it is now with an extra light. And it'll go up 24, it'll go all the way to East Quogue.
There would also have to be a traffic study as well. This is so preliminary. This is a vision. This is not a plan, right? It's a vision. So, but of course, we would have to do a traffic study to really assess what would need to be done.
A tunnel.
A bridge over the canal.
Okay. He's thinking.
A bridge over Shinnecock.
Who else did I have? Okay, Sarah, one more time.
Forgive me if this was said, but I think everything we touched on back here is all simultaneously, the sewage, the rezoning, and the plans for this are all currently simultaneously being worked forward.
Correct.
So if you maybe just want to fill in the room on the details of that, it just might
full
I mean,
picture
we
for
did the
everyone.
pattern book, next is the zoning, the sewage treatment plant is in the works, we had an engineering study done, we found a location. So everything is being done simultaneously, because it wouldn't make sense to wait until a sewage treatment plant was in, if you wanna speak to how long that process could take. It wouldn't make sense, it could be 5 years, it could be longer than that. Ask Riverside how long it's taken to get a sewage treatment plant. And it's still probably 4 or 5 years out.
And, determining the zoning, by the way, is an important step that does need to happen so we understand what capacity is necessary for the sewage treatment plant.
Right, and just to tell everyone yet again, I love to repeat myself on this. There was a Historical Concepts was a consulting firm hired by the town to create a plan that looks like this. Like, what would it look like if, we had a consultant put together a revitalization plan? And they put in a number of apartments, residential apartments, and the only purpose of that, it was 160 apartments. The only reason that number was in that plan was for the purpose of determining what maximum capacity would be, for the purpose of determining what size sewage treatment plant we would need. And everybody went ballistic over it, but it really didn't need that much ire because it was a planning document.
And John, can I just step in? I think, and that's why this next step that the town has to take in approving the pattern book needs to take place, because the next step to that is the zoning, which is going to be challenging.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be another community conversation that's going to be happening here. I want to just say that the pattern book is a culmination of the community's concerns on overdevelopment, as well as the community's needs for opportunity and economic promise. So what is in the pattern book is precisely design standards, right? Architectural suggestions that helps to keep that downtown feel that a lot of the folks who have come to the town board and who have expressed concern, it was really, that's why Historical Concepts was part of that conversation, to kind of preserve that downtown village aesthetic that we thought, and other people thought, would be a good way to balance the approach to revitalization in downtown Hampton Bays.
So let me ask you a question out here. Identifying the traffic issues that Rich has talked about, we all know that, increasing residential will increase traffic. Who here thinks that if you increase traffic at all, we shouldn't even try it? Wow.
I think traffic is a fact of life, and we all know we have to.
Right.
Exactly.
So,
doing it over the canal anyway, so.
hold on, I'm coming over to you. You just opened the genie's bottle. Oh, sorry about that. That just blinded my ear? No.
There's gonna continue to be more building east of the canal anyway, so we're the through, everybody comes through us to get there, so traffic in town is almost just dependent on what's happening out there regardless, so I don't think that should be that much of an issue.
So would you like to see this built eventually?
Yes, sooner than later.
Really? Why?
I mean, for everything like everybody said, Hampton Bays is kind of dying, it seems, there's no excitement. I spend most of my time in West Hampton. You can go get a coffee. Like, where can you get a coffee other than Starbucks in Hampton Bays? There's really nothing, you can't even get an ice cream. All right, maybe you go to Carvel, but that's not exciting. Like,
No, well, there's gelato at Francesca's, and there's Gemelli Gelato. When you leave Buckley's. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. My family comes out, and what do? We take everybody down to the beach. If we don't go to the beach, we go to Southampton. If we don't go to Southampton, we go to West Hampton. We recently went to West Hampton and were pleasantly surprised, and there's a type of a magnetism. You go to a place that's attractive, you want to enjoy, you want to eat, you want to spend money, and I think that Hampton Bays has a huge potential. You have people that are investing. You look at Canoe Place Inn. You look at some of the other places or company. We're in Old Harbor Colony, and there are people that are coming in there and they're redoing these houses and they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in a heartbeat. And we have a potential jewel that can be developed, and it can be expanded, and people will want to gravitate to come here to eat, to come to hotels and enjoy the area. But it hasn't been cultivated yet. It can grow, it could become something absolutely wonderful if we're willing to invest in it. I think this new area downtown is a great first step. I think it's something that it will attract businesses, it will attract residences. You have people that are coming here that are looking for jobs and looking to work, and it just has such great potential that I can't even imagine it. I think we really have to invest in it.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to run over here. Give me a second, Benny. I'll come back to you. Gentleman here.
Hi, Richie Glanzer. I live over in Maryland. In the context of everything that's happening, the sovereign nation of the Shinnecox are moving full speed ahead with a gas station and a casino. So the gas station will bring in more traffic, and the casino will bring in people and money. You have people and money, stores will appear to go and serve these people. So I think the opportunity is happening to upgrade the town. We don't have any. We have zero control over it because they're a sovereign nation. So I mean, we can't hold hearings, whatever. But I think in essence, what people want to see the downtown upgraded. I think that will naturally happen with what's happening with the Shinnecox.
And they're moving a lot faster.
So what do you mean that it will naturally happen? Like,
If you bring in people and money, the stores will appear. If there's money, places will happen where people can spend their money because people have to go somewhere.
so then would you say that you would be in favor of this because it would be fed by all the different other developments ongoing in the town of Southampton?
I would have to get some more information about the quantity. I know that they mentioned 145 units, which is if you look in the city, that's a 12-story building, and so it's a lot of people. So I'm saying maybe there's a compromise that is more reasonable for everyone. And again, as she pointed out, parking really is an issue, and maybe the fire department can help out. But parking is going to be an issue. Traffic's an issue. If they have a gas station and a casino, you can have an influx here. How do you handle that? And I don't have the answer, but we can't stop them.
Okay, so you said adding that would be adding a 12-story building. Okay, so let's say there's a number's been floated, 190 apartments. Let's say 4 people in each apartment. What? No, there's 190 has been floated. 140 was in historical concepts. 190 has been floated. So 190, so that's 4, 5, 6, 760 people. Do you think the addition of 760 people to the hamlet of Hampton Bays is going to kill us?
Let me flip it around.
No, seriously.
No. Do I know? No, but there's 198 parking spaces minimum, plus how many hundreds for stores. And again, it's the parking situation. Where do you put all those cars?
Well, when we had Mr. Kiola here, he talked about underground. Putting parking under the buildings.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay. Under the new buildings, yes. Who we got? Here we got Rodney.
Just because I heard it come up a couple of times, and I can't speak on behalf of what the fire district, is doing in Hampton Bays. But I had a casual conversation with a couple of commissioners back. I'm in charge of training. I've been doing training at the firehouse. for a lot of guys, you know, for years. And we seem to go through the same scenario. Every time I finally get a young, trained, very intelligent, physically fit, you know, firefighter there, they're moving out of state. They gotta go somewhere else. It keeps happening over, and even some of them just staying on the island. Just recently lost another guy, moving back to Bayshore where we came from originally. So, okay, was in casual conversation, I mentioned about doing housing for fire department members on some of the fire department grounds, and was told flat out that they don't have the room for that. Everything that's there, they have plans for, you know, stuff like that. So any of that property that we bought next door, they all have a plan for that already, and if they're not gonna do housing for firemen, I'm sure parking would also be out of the question.
Now I had a question over here, I had a comment over here again.
I just have a question regarding the land that if Alfred didn't buy this property, could it have been a strip mall? Because that, when I'm a big tree person and I would wish we could conserve all land, but I want to be realistic. So could this land instead be a strip mall?
From my understanding, and Cyndi, I don't know if you have any additional information, when I met with Alfred Kaiola as well, around the same time Cyndi did, I was told that he actually saved it from being developed by a big box store. I think it was a Home Depot or something to that effect, or something. It would have been a big box store of some kind. I don't know exactly what it was.
I can tell you exactly where it would be. So there was a gentleman who owned this piece of land right here, and Mr. Kaiola heard that he was going to put a big box store there. Now I heard Home Depot as well. I'm not sure. He purchased it to avoid that. So go ahead.
And in essence, right, this would bring small entrepreneurs and businesses, restaurants, cafes, rather than what I think the community has largely agreed they don't want, which is the big box store, which would totally, you know, change the character of the community.
Yeah. And then it's more like Lakefront Complex.
Correct. That's what they don't want.
Yeah, this is Cyndi and Michael. With this new development going to take place eventually. Right now, Heatherwood has asked for big extension. Has that been approved? And how are they gonna tie into the sewers, if so?
So Heather Woods, from my understanding, is as of right. They have the zoning in place to do what they're planning to do. They're not going to the ZBA, they're not asking for variances, they have, that was all put in plans when they bought that property originally, and next to the cemetery by Heather Woods. But so they worked with planning and they made it to where the I guess the apartments are set back. There's like a community building, so it's not gonna look from Main Street like an apartment complex.
But they're putting in stores on Montauk Highway, and they're putting in a clubhouse.
They're putting in, so the way planning designed this was, knowing that we wanted to do a more walkable downtown, they asked them, and I think they agreed, to put in retail space on Montauk Highway, then their HOA clubhouse behind that, and then tucked behind that is the apartments.
And how many more apartments are
I
they
don't
putting
know
in?
the number and I don't wanna speak off.
And this is going to take place, it's gonna break ground. How soon?
They're in the planning board going through the process, so I don't know what the timeline is. No, I think I think they have their own little on-site batch system.
You can go to the planning board meetings, and the first one is this month sometime. You need to check online.
Thank you, Amy.
Yes,
Okay.
that's all.
We have a question. This gentleman right here, would you grab him, Stephanie?
Sorry.
Hi, my name is Michael O'Connor. I'm a Hampton Bays resident. This is one of the better, more positive meetings I've been to. And
thank you.
And I think, you know, we grew up organically, and I think we're seeing the downside of the organic growth. And that happens when you can't get any planning at a certain level. So a positive attitude, and one that's, you know, interested and studies it rather than just a knee-jerk rejection, is what we need now, because we're too crowded. There's too many people, The land's being developed, there's no open space, you can't just come in and do something. So I'm encouraged.
I mean,
Thank you.
it's a criticism a lot, I've heard, that, you know, this is one big developer who's bought all this land, is gonna profit off of it. And there's a flip side to that, and the flip side is you can have a cohesive vision on what you want, because there is one property owner, instead of having all these separate little lots that everyone wants to develop differently.
You can see somebody
Exactly.
who owns that much land still can't get it done because of the sewage plant. So you need at a higher level.
Well, the sewage plant is not the reason why it hasn't gotten done. That's the honest truth. The honest truth is that there was a Hampton Bays downtown overlay district that was annulled by Judge Santorelli on questionable environmental grounds, and here we are today talking about the same thing 10 years later. Let's see, Maria Holt. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. that
Okay,
lady.
I'm glad Jim brought up about West Hampton. I've been here since '54 when I got married and moved out here. Come Labor Day, West Hampton was deserted. Since they fixed Main Street, any time of the year, there's people there. When they have the concerts in the park, some of the stores stay open afterwards, the bakery stays open. You see stuff going on. If you go to Mattatuck now, First Fridays on Main Street, if we had an area built up with stores, we could have a First Fridays, everybody's on Main Street in Mattatuck. It brings people in when you have something like that. You talked about having a store that had smaller places. I go up to Saratoga to visit my daughter. And granted, they have the racetrack crowd, but that's not year round. That place is alive too, because they're in between the restaurants and everything else are stores that have upstairs and downstairs with little shops. You wander in to see what's there. You buy things. You know, anything like that would be an improvement in Hampton Bays.
Wouldn't it be nice to be able to like block off some of these streets and have like a block party? Just like, how much fun would that? Exactly. How much fun would that be? I'm gonna go to Maria.
A couple of comments. First of all, when we talk about big box stores wanting to come in, I've been trying for years to get Trader Joe's in here, and they don't feel there's enough traffic. So I really can't imagine a big box store surviving with all that land. That's number one. Number two, in terms of the park, there used to be a committee way back when, I don't know how many years now, when they were deciding what to do with the park, which Frank Sapone ran and Marion Bowden was on it and a lot of other people. And two of the suggestions that have never been picked up that would be great for us is that the stage in the winter could become an ice skating rink very easily. Very, very easily, and would attract a lot of people there and give kids something to do. And the walking trails with snow, if it's not man-made or if it snows, which it hasn't in the last 2 years, but before that we were great, would be great cross-country paths. So there are natural things that could be done for very little expense. And when you say that there's not money in this town, there's a new restaurant that opened up in the Inn Spot called, can I get it out? I ate there, I know that. Just give me a second, I'm old. A lot of people trying to get in there. It's booked solid constantly. So
It's really good.
it's really good and it's not that inexpensive. Oh, it does.
Oh, it does. It does.
Absolutely
I mean,
does.
if you really look, we are the only Hampton with like the most waterfront restaurants. Oakland's, Sundays, Rumba, Cowfish, Canal Cafe, Edgewater, Amalfi. What does Southampton have? What does East Hampton have? The other Hamptons don't have waterfront restaurants. There is so much potential in this town, and we take it for granted until we see something like this and go, oh, we don't have anything.
We have the best restaurants. They're
Okay.
just not on the-
Correct.
Okay, Patty.
Just an observation. I would love to see this rendering turned around. I would like to see it from the perspective of Montauk Highway, because how is this walkable downtown?
Okay, hold on, let me show you.
Excellent.
We have another one. Grab. No, this is it, Main Street from Montauk Highway looking towards the park. I'd have to shop there.
This perspective clearly seems to highlight the fact that development is taking advantage of the park. And if it's walkable there, there's nobody on Montauk Highway. There is a footpath down, which my dog and I
Right.
love that walk. It's a very dog friendly walk. They provide the food bag. And, yeah, so.
And this is Good Ground Park.
I'm not getting
Looking-
the sense that we're really promoting a walkable downtown if Montauk Highway is neglected. So how much of what Mr. Kiola wants to develop
Well-
will be facing?
Well, the issue with Montauk Highway is this. Those storefronts are all owned by private landowners. We have no ability to tell them, well, the town doesn't even have the ability to tell them to do anything with their properties.
No, my question was, he didn't purchase any
No,
property that
he hasn't.
faces Montauk Highway.
Well, the property that would be, some of it along here may, although there's existing things there, there's existing structures there. So he doesn't own all of that along Montauk Highway. And really, you know, Mr. Kiola, as well as the town, wouldn't be able to tell the property owners all along Montauk Highway what to do with their property. What I think would happen is that you create something beautiful, and that would encourage other landowners to upgrade their properties. And also, we would have to look to the town. I know the town has had grant money available to upgrade facades in the past, or was it the county?
The town got rid of it.
No, it was the town, but it existed, it happened, right? There was a grant program for people to upgrade their facades at, what was it, $35,000?
It went down to 7, but there's a new grant.
Right, but what we could do as a community is probably foster other grant programs in order to give incentives to landowners along Montauk Highway to improve their facades after something like this has been installed.
Also, Sag Harbor and West Hampton, their main streets aren't on Montauk Highway, and I think the town of Southampton could you maybe compare like East Hampton that has a town on Montauk Highway versus Sag Harbor and West Hampton?
Bridgehampton too.
Yeah, and Bridgehampton that's
Yeah.
not on Montauk Highway. Could you kind of maybe?
So the way I envision this is, and I remember when the park was talked about, and there was this talk about this second Main Street, and there was a big controversy at the time, like you're going to kill Montauk Highway because you're going to make this second Main Street that's going to be nice, and nobody's going to want to go to Montauk Highway. But the way that this was laid out is it's basically almost like a town square. So you could theoretically park and walk in a square around all the shops.
Right, and another thing is, you know, we one of our friends here is a woman named Dana Carlito, who owns the wine room that recently opened, and she's very far down, almost to the movie theater, and she's very much in favor of this project simply because business owners along Montauk Highway believe that it will create foot traffic. Absolutely will create foot traffic. People will go shopping, eating, drinking, and then they'll go, oh, let's go get a charcuterie board and let's go get some wine and da-da-da. So, you know, business owners along Montauk Highway are excited about a project like this because of what it can do for their businesses. And speaking of one of them, Mr. Benny Torres.
I do have a business on Montauk. I'm almost right at the corner of Ponquag and Montauk, and I've been there for about 14 years, and I also now own the building, and and one of the things, and I
Benny,
talked
tell
to,
everybody what the business is.
I do insurance and taxes and everything. It's Isla Insurance and Services. And I'm also a homeowner here in Hampton Bays, not too far from Old Harbor. I'm right across from it. And one of the things when I'm listening to what you guys are proposing, and inclusive of the piece for doing apartments, because I think as a business owner, without a doubt, like none of my employees actually live in the town, and to me that's huge. Actually, none of my kids, they're all grown. None of my kids live here either. So it's just myself and my wife, and we're empty nesters now. And they couldn't afford, forget about, they can't afford to rent or to purchase out here. So they all moved out, they're gone. And I think that is one of the biggest issues that we have, that even for myself, that one of my employees lives in Brentwood, so she's got to travel from Brentwood, part of the trade parade, to come to my office every morning. So she's okay because I tell her come in at 10 o'clock because I know that avoids that traffic. And I think and a couple of my workers also live in Shirley, Massac Beach. So the reality, if we don't provide, because not everyone can buy a house, okay? So not everybody have that ability to do that. And obviously, I don't have to say with the prices, you got to make $150,000 to buy a house in Hampton Bays now, and a lot of our employees are not making $150,000. So now what do we do? And I know the town is involved with doing a lot of stuff with trying to bring back affordable housing, and so I know that's what they're doing, which is good. But at the same time, I also know that it's hard to find an apartment. And I think that is something that, and I hear people, density. I'm like, well, I don't think density is an issue. I think density is an excuse. And the reality is that the numbers are going down in the schools and they're worried about density. I'm like, well, and this town is vibrant because you can't find an empty location on Montauk Highway, okay? And if my tenant from next door, if he decides to leave, I don't have to list that location on the real estate. I get it rented in 5 minutes. So there's, but the issue is always, can our workers live nearby and rent an apartment nearby, not in a basement, but to have their own apartment, their own kitchen, their own bathroom, separate from what's happening right now. And I think that's where, and if we don't want all these houses to be crowded, we have to come up with a solution. And definitely, I think having those apartments, or if not a little bit more, will help in that. And lastly, what can I do? I'm in favor of it. The owners who live or who own the property around me are also in favor of this program as well. What can we do individually to help you guys?
Mr. Torres, so that's a great point. It speaks
That's a good question.
Yeah, and it speaks to what I was speaking about earlier when I introduced myself about the economic gaps. You got to think about it as a cycle. Sorry?
No.
You got to think about it as a cycle. You need people to live here in order to work here and spend money here, right? So the town has committed $1.25 million this year to our CHF programs of accessory dwelling units. And there's two components to that. There's the town component and then the state component, which has an additional $2 million from, I believe, last year. So that has received significant applications, I think 89 total applications, and they're making progress with that. We also committed 1.25 million for a down payment assistance program. I know you said rental's important, but I just want to make mention too, home ownership is as well. We got to strike a balance with that. 1.25 million was committed for that. I think they just secured a certificate for one couple, and they have 2 other applicants that they're assessing, CHF. So that's great news. But we have a couple of other options too. We want to be able to spur and encourage ADU development in the sense that it benefits the workforce. And we actually are looking at measures to do that. One of which looks at the construction of ADUs for the homeowner to receive a tax break for the first 5 years that they construct an ADU, and then it progressively goes back to their regular tax rate after 10 years is over. Accessory dwelling unit. Yeah. And we are also assessing a state program. We want to try to become, Southampton wants to try to become a pro-housing community, and in order to do that, we need to apply through the state. One particular program that we're interested in is the New York Forward program, which has tens of millions of dollars that could be granted to the town to do something exactly like this, where you do have apartments, rental units for folks for workforce housing. And what's great about it is that we could be selective in where we would like that money to go, which I think is critically important, because previously the state kind of held the reins, and there was big controversy of the state just kind of dumping housing wherever it wanted. Now they're kind of working with the municipalities to make the determination on where they think it's best. So that's really great news, and those are existing pieces of legislation that is before the board right now, and we hope that we can actually move forward on those. So it's a great question.
It's on. Hi, my name's Maureen Steigerwald. I'll try and be quick.
Please.
Yes, I will try. Some
Please.
other people haven't been as quick either, John. Okay, however, I would just like to say quickly, underground parking, just keep in mind, we're on an aquifer. I'm not sure I don't know how that works, but I'm not so sure underground parking would not reach our aquifer here. I don't know if it's feasible or not, something to consider. I'm very much in favor of revitalization of our downtown. I am concerned definitely about parking. I know everybody loves Sag Harbor. I've gone to Bay Street 3 or 4 times this season, literally driven around 45 minutes to find a spot to park. It's a booming downtown, but God help you if you have to park, okay? All right, next, right here in Hampton Bays, talk about our revitalization. There's a couple of small things we could do. And I'd like to address this too to the gentleman who just spoke, who has the insurance business. Was it Mr. Torres?
Mr. Torres, yes.
Mr. Torres. I'm just horrified by our Main Street signs in every store. These huge, ugly, hideous paper signs. And I beg people who go to these stores to say nicely to the people who own them as a start, do you realize how unattractive that is to the town? I wouldn't even go spend my money in a store that has so little respect for this town to just destroy it with paper signs that are so, I think, degrading to our downtown. We never used to have them, and now we have a plethora of them that is just horrible.
I think Ms. McNAMARA can speak to that.
I hope there is something we can do.
Oh, yeah.
The last thing I would like to say to all the young people, or the few young people who might be here, and how we talk about affordable housing. I've been on committees here, I've lived here 50 years, I've been on committees for over 40, original committees, the shared decision making, etc., blah, blah, blah. Same things over and again. However, I think that the town of Southampton has to consider that it's kind of talking out of 2 sides of, not you people particularly, but affordable housing. We are surrounded, as the gentleman said, from Old Harbor Colony, houses being purchased and hundreds of thousands of dollars being invested in them. They are now valued at well over $1 million and being taxed accordingly. It's wonderful, unless you live next door to one, because your taxes are based on what the surrounding sales are. So every time another house is sold for $1 million or $1.5 million, if you live near it, the town, who is concerned about affordable housing, will have no problem taxing you out of your house. Especially if you are a senior on a fixed income, your taxes are going to climb and climb and climb accordingly. And the gal who was here, the tax person, told us that is exactly how your taxes are determined. So yes, it's great in some ways, and in other ways, unless your income can absorb that, it's not so great.
Okay, hold on.
I just wanted to just add.
Well, I want to take them in order because she had two things.
Okay.
So let's start with signs. Ms. McNamara.
So the signs, so there's been a lot of complaints in Hampton Bays about the current Main Street, and this is great and we're waiting for development, but what can we do now? And to Christine Taylor's point is, a lot of these businesses don't own the buildings, so they don't have it within their budgets to fix up buildings that they don't own. So they're basically paying rent and they're trying to make it by on what they sell. But to the point of, I understand that it's been a complaint, a lot of stores and signs that shouldn't be, and we do have a sign code in this town. So what I have directed code enforcement to do, and they've actually started the process, they are visiting, because we didn't want to target certain businesses that, got complaints and not be fair across the board. They just started the process. They are visiting every single business downtown Hampton Bays.
Thank you.
They are giving them basically a form that's not a notice of violation. It's telling them you're out of compliance with the sign code or the building code for the following reasons. They then, Ryan Murphy and I are holding 2 dates where they can come in, almost like a tax grievance day, and explain either why they need the signage that they have, or why they're out of compliance. We are working on redoing the entire sign code, so certain things we are willing to work on at the current time. But that paper, if they don't come in and don't speak to us, will then get escalated to a notice of violation if they don't comply and take care of it. Because we have heard that there is, and it's not fair. And what my plan is to tell these business owners when they come in to the grievance day is, listen, the complaints we're getting are from the people that patronize your stores.
That's right.
And if you're turning off the very community that you're trying to get business from, it's not a good thing for you.
Okay, and Michael, you'll talk about tax?
Well, no, I was just gonna address, well, it's a good question, and obviously, you're concerned about, making sure the community is following the code, and I think that that's reasonable. I would just add, in terms of the housing issues that you mentioned, that's why Southampton is uniquely situated with its CHF program. The fact that we have a community housing fund, I think that we are uniquely positioned more in a better place than any other town.
That has nothing to do with my point.
Ma'am, please, just let him speak.
You mentioned about the cost of housing and how that affects taxes, right? So the fact that we have at our leverage, the town has at its leverage, the CHF, that in itself has the ability to also control for some of the exaggerated market prices that we are seeing. The fact that we can say, hey, we're gonna essentially subsidize through those CPF, 2% from the CPF.
I'm talking about the people that are here, not the people trying to buy.
Ma'am, please, let him finish, and then we're gonna have to move on, and you can talk to him afterwards, okay? Thank you. Please.
That's not what I'm addressing.
I understand that, ma'am, you can talk to him afterwards.
Okay, maybe I misunderstood her question.
It's okay, but we don't have the time for that, so finish
that's
your
fine.
answer. Are you done?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if I misunderstood, I don't
Yeah,
wanna.
no, it's okay. So, we're getting on 8:45, so we're gonna wrap it up. Oh, yeah, Denise.
So we're talking about the revitalization and new stores coming in, and for it and against some of it. Just a lay to put to rest some of the rumors that are going on. What's going on in Gators? What's going on next door? Boarded up. Nothing's been moving for a year, and there's all sorts of rumors flying.
What are the rumors?
What are the rumors? The rumors are that the Gators people didn't do something according to building code, so they got like a stop work order or something. That's like almost a year ago. That's the rumor. I don't know what's going on with it.
So I would have to check with code enforcement and building department and find out where it's at, because I wouldn't want to add to the rumors and tell you something is going on.
How can we
that
talk
it's
about
not.
putting new thriving stores up when we can't even get 2 existing restaurants back back up that we don't know what's going on with.
Was there anybody else?
Maybe you wanted to talk.
Oh, this young man. Yeah, I'm gonna jump around here again.
John, I can do it.
I got it. Okay.
So I just have a quick question. Like, I know that the town doesn't own Montauk Highway, but like, who manages the sidewalks? And is there like anything that anyone could do to like fix them up? Because they're like cracked.
Suffolk County, and we can
Okay.
ask.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
John, just one more.
Okay, one more.
I had too many comments as the night went on. About the apartment thing. First of all, let me tell you, I'm not opposed to this development. I happen to prefer the historical concept
Are you with
plan
John?
to this
Hi,
particular
I'm Linda.
one. I thought it
I'm
was better
actually-
scaled, and it had more attention to parking. And by the way, the answer here is parking garages. I've mentioned that several times. I've seen it done places. It's the only option you've got where you've got such limited space. You gotta do parking garages. But the apartment thing,
Wait, we
the
have to
whole
do
thing
parking
that-
garages?
Yes.
You wanna
you
park?
do.
How many stories? Oh my God.
Well, you can do that here and there in different
Do
sizes.
You know you're gonna be burnt at the stake.
I'm sorry. Just for reference, my
Okay.
family goes back forever. I grew up here. I was born and raised here.
Okay.
I've seen the town change. It's like you can't resist everything, and just it's better than trying to keep sprawling stuff out.
Right.
Bring it in
Right.
together.
Well, I believe, and as this gentleman was talking about the positivity of this meeting, I think one of the cornerstones of all of it is, look, I'm a civil litigator in my practice, and so all of it's about compromise.
So for the apartment thing, my big fear with that, I said at some point off the cuff that go ahead and let them do it, but 75% of them need to be affordable. 75%. Never mind the 10 or 15% or 5% that the developers usually
Right.
throw at it, because it's just not enough. And the other thing is, even what they call affordable, you talk about somebody that works in a shop at $16 or $20 an hour, do the math, for 30% of your salary, yeah, right. You're spending half your monthly income to get a one-bedroom
Right.
apartment, if you're lucky. The
Well,
numbers don't work. That's
Right.
my concern.
And when we were here last month and talking about affordable housing, and really the development projects that we've been talking about, even something like this, is a drop in the bucket in comparison to what we actually need in order to house people. And let's remember that affordable housing and the traffic situation, they're linked. If you have housing for people, they don't have to get in their car and drive in this trade parade. If you have
you have to get rid of the Airbnb rentals, and you have to downsize your second home market, because
And you have to
need
build-
real people to
and you
live
have to
here.
build apartments for people who have to travel in order to work. And, yeah, go.
No, I just wanted to say, as people are filtering out,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's almost 9 o'clock,
It's
so we're
almost
going
9
home. I just wanted to thank everybody and thank you. I mean, this was a very, as a town board person, this is a very enjoyable meeting to be at. And I know there has been some contention between this group and that group, and everybody comes from a place, I believe, that they truly do care about Hampton Bays. And everybody has different viewpoints, and you know, to say that somebody's anti-development or pro-development, it's a big thing, and it's an okay thing to be not sure of or even scared of, because it's a big change. And I think this was nice because it was very respectful. Yes, it was definitely more on the pro-happy, yes, let's do this side, whereas the other group tends to be, we don't want change, and they want downtown the way it is, and they want it to be just enhanced and made better. And I just don't see that happening without new development and revitalization. So
Doing nothing is not an option.
but I want to thank you for the format
Thank you.
had
And
the
Michael,
meeting.
Do you have any last?
Well, I would agree with Cyndi that this was a really productive conversation. We need to hear from everybody, and here we are. We're hearing from folks that we don't typically hear from, and I think that's really.
I didn't know pro-development people existed.
Yeah, and it's not even as if you folks are all necessarily pro-development. If I might just.
Yeah, it's Rosh Hashanah, and there's a very important baseball game.
I would say also it's not necessarily that everybody can be defined here as necessarily pro-development, right? But yeah, but we need to have more collaborative discussions that are seeing what we're doing as partners with you, not against you. And as I mentioned earlier on, for the folks that are suspicious and skeptical, I understand it. As Cyndi mentioned, that's an understandable sentiment and an understandable feeling, and I take that very seriously because there is a past that can be looked at and said, they did some things that I wouldn't have done. But we have done a lot of work with respect to the Historical Concepts Plan in particular. CAC meetings, a Hampton Bays Civic meeting, a chamber meeting. There was a community survey that went out. We have been doing a lot of community outreach and taking a lot of community input, and what you see in the pattern book is a culmination of all of it. And I think that we have to recognize that, and this is only a first step. The next step is the zoning. That's going to be the particulars, and that's going to be another level.
And that's where we're going to need you. We have in the past, for the pattern book, the Alliance had a letter writing campaign that we collected letters from people in support of the pattern book, in support of revitalization and redevelopment in theory or in concept. And so we really can't do anything without all of you. So I really do urge you all, if you haven't already put your name on our sign-up list, if we don't have your email address, please give it to us. And if you are willing to, help us with our letter writing, speak at a town board meeting in favor of these initiatives, speak with us about ways to help us increase membership and all of that stuff, we really do encourage you to join us and to help. And finally, one last thing, if anyone would like to contact the Kiola team to provide them with support, Bridget Fleming here is working with him, and you can talk to her afterwards and you can provide her with your contact information, and she would love to speak with you.
And bring your kids, bring your grandkids, get more young people, get us involved. I know we're lazy, but we will come. We will come.
Could I just add one last thing, and I think Cyndi will agree with this. We also want to hear from you. Send us sometimes, right? No, but honestly, that it's a good gauge.
Tell us how you really feel.
No, but seriously, it's a good gauge of determining where the community is feeling. Where are you at on these issues that are top of mind for all of us, that are top of the agenda for the town board? We want to know, what do you feel? This is a democracy, and this process has been very democratic, small d democratic, in the sense that it's gone before the community. So we want to hear from you.
Absolutely. I have been lambasted in the past for saying that we should be, as a community, in a partnership with not only the town council, but also with people like Mr. Kiola, who want to develop something that will enhance our community. There's no reason that we should be pushing him aside, not wanting to engage with him. We should be wanting to talk to him so that we can get something that we want for our community. Remember, we have to give our approval and our support to this. It doesn't mean that it gets pushed through no matter what it looks like. We have to speak out, and if you want something, you have to ask for it, because the people who don't want it are certainly talking. So please, give us your email, get involved. Thank you.